Hi, y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all-natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self-care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. And we love to invite expert guests in to talk about all the 8 dimensions.
It's really important, like even with the name of the show, all the systems that we do, we talk about not overwhelming people with too much information because it can be a lot, to be intentional about it, to know what to do about yourself. So I love that we've chosen to keep it like this with 1 dimension a week and then the wrap at the end of the season.
Right?
Yes.
Hello, hello, hello. How are you, my friend?
How am I? I am... We've been talking about motherhood and stuff before the call, right? I was going to say expectant. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, right? Not that way. And we might talk about that with Women Connected in Wisdom. This is not another announcement, okay? We went to a baby shower, y'all, this weekend. Not mine. It's okay.
We had how rumors get started.
Right, no, really, okay? You cut up the video and then here we go with a whole nother podcast.
Right.
But I'm expectant and excited for things to exceed expectations in our conversation today.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about environmental wellness. And I really enjoyed your conversation that you had one of the episodes I was gone last season, since this is the beginning of season 22, which is crazy, right? And you were talking about the environment and how it affects women and where we are with the election and the decision. And so I'm super excited to be continuing to offer resources and great conversation and, a great guest expert that's going to get these ladies connected to the things that they need for their environmental wellness. How are you? What's been going on?
I love that. Well, I'm traveling, so I want to give the listeners a heads up. My sound is a little funky today, but I am excited to be with you. And, one of the ways we created Women Connected in Wisdom is so we can travel and do our work on the road and the ways. So I am in Colorado, in the land of the Ute, and I am going to be doing some work. And I had a great retreat with Interplay Colorado and the folks there that was just phenomenal. And then I get to take care of my nibblings this weekend. So, I am beyond jazzed because they are now in kindergarten and ridiculously smart and funny, and they're excited their Tia is in town. So let's tell listeners what dimension we're working on this week. So this week is environmental wellness. And our definition with Women Connected in Wisdom is that environmental wellness is supporting your good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that enhance well-being. It promotes interaction with nature and also creating enjoyable personal environments, both in and out of your workspace. This includes knowing the types of environments you thrive in and having an intentional relationship with these places, including the earth.
Yes. What stood out for me is good health. What does that mean to be in good health? I want to be in great health. We always talk about being very well taken care of. Like, how do we get to the very well taken care of? And when we talk about balance, it's not all cylinders every single day. It ebbs and flows, and capacity ebbs and flows, and your environment and where you are is so important to that. I remember when I was in undergrad and I learned about nature versus nurture in psychology, right? And I learned that 1/3 of it is your biology and your nature and your family. And we're talking about family constellations today and different things. But then 2/3 of it is your environment. And so it reminded me of that episode we did about being a flower. And I was putting on this dress and I said, yeah, I'm a red sunflower. And then I looked at this burgundy and I laughed because, like, here I go with red on today, thinking about being a red sunflower. So we have, that power to affect it in a really good way to set ourselves up for success. What do you do to do that? I know we have Melody and different resources that we tap into. What do you think about now at season 22?
When I'm thinking about environmental wellness, yeah, I always think about our friend and colleague, Melody LeBaron, who is an expert at space clearing and intentional space. So I think about her. This is the time of year that I'm cleaning out. I'm assessing what's working for me and what's not working. And, last week we talked about the spreadsheet, and I realized I don't think we got it in our show notes. So we'll do it this week. But
Okay.
where we look at our wins, and,
Yes.
I look at my house like as a partner and my environment as a partner with me for my work in the world. So I look at that too. I look at my environment and what worked this year. What did I love? Right.
Mhm.
What do I need to create to make it more easeful and joyful for me? So I can't wait to hear what our guest says today about this, because I think she's in alignment with a lot of these things, and I'm
Yeah,
excited to have the convo.
absolutely. Absolutely. Would you be okay if I go ahead and bring her up so we can have this conversation all together?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. Okay, y'all. So today our expert guest is Heather Warren, and Heather Warren is a soul coach based in Ontario, Canada, who helps heart-led women who have gone through hell to bloom without baggage through deep inner work. She loves helping clients grow from the roots up. Help us welcome to the stage, Heather Warren. Hi,
Hey.
Heather.
Hello. Hi, Christine. Hi, Shannon.
Oh, so excited to have you here. This is so important.
So important, and especially at this time of year. And I apologize, I've got a frog in my throat with, as I mentioned before, with respiratory challenges. So
Yeah.
I may need to mute to cough.
Okay. We're here for the ebbs and flows, and we were talking about environmental and your relationship with the nature, So I'm here for the frogs and here for supporting each other in this environment. No problem.
Well, and it's so true right now. I mentioned that I was traveling, and I really have to pay attention to that when I'm traveling, because every environment is new and my
Yes.
body reacts to it different ways, right? I'm currently outside of Denver, and I always joke, like, I get off the plane and literally it starts sucking moisture out of my body because it's such a dry and arid environment here. And I love it. And I love seeing the Rockies, and I love the people I see here, but my body is an East Coast girl and loves moisture and humidity.
That's important.
Oh, yes. Oh, Christina, it's similar. I actually just came back from Saskatchewan. I'm based in Canada, in Ontario, Canada. And it's where I'm from and where my roots are originally from born is in southwestern Ontario, which is very humid and damp. Whereas Saskatchewan, it's the same idea. It's just like, especially in wintertime, everything's dry. And it's like, oh God, I really feel like the out of place Ontarian there. Yeah, which goes well into what we're talking about today.
Right. So when you think about family constellations and environmental wellness and how that goes well, what came up for you?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So just for anybody who doesn't know about family constellations work, it's a unique approach. We would call it an energetic approach for understanding your relationship with your family and also your ancestor lineage. Now, when we talk about ancestors, it's usually we look at blood relations, but it can also extend to the environment, to Mother Earth and to pets we've had in our life. It can extend to trees and rocks, like they're their original ancestors. And in many eco-spiritual traditions, they would say the same thing. So if we harm the earth, or if we don't respect the earth, and I don't mean to put like layers of shame and guilt on people. We're all doing the best we can. Some of us are maybe not treating the earth as well as we could, but there is this understanding. It's like you're mistreating your ancestor. Right. And a relation. Right. And so really taking a look at, this idea and the importance of coming back to our roots. If we do want to become environmental stewards, or we do want to step into this understanding of how to create a sustainable world for ourselves and others being more than human. And to, especially at this time when we're facing winter up here, I don't know, depends on where listeners are tuning in from.
Right.
But we're in the northern hemisphere to a point, it's winter time. And there's this understanding that things are a little more challenging, and the environment makes us have to be more resourceful and stay at home and make sure we don't fall into depression or isolation and all of this. So, a lot of us in our modern world, or in a more urban setting, we can sort of isolate ourselves from the natural elements, but they're still informing everything we're about. And the more that we become aware of, the environment we're from, our genetic lineage, some of the stories of, how our ancestors have moved, what happened to them, we can actually take care of ourselves better, right? And we can take care of the earth better. So, and just as a quick example, similar to what you were speaking about, Christine, was just like, I have ancestors that moved from Alberta and Saskatchewan, which was the prairies. When I lived in the prairies for like a year and a half, it kicked my butt. I do not belong in the like, I love the prairies.
Wow.
I don't belong there. My body, same thing in the Caribbean. Like every time I traveled to like super tropical climates, I get sick. I feel like on the verge of death.
Wow.
It's not my environment. I love the places. I love the cultures, but I can't, my body just goes, no.
Hadn't thought about that before. Okay. Important to note, right? You can't just disregard yourself and not listen to your body trying to be in the Caribbean every other summer. You're going to be miserable.
Right?
Don't do that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's sort of karmic. This is where karmic justice kind of comes in.
That makes sense.
Same thing with, oftentimes we talk about personal growth. People are trying to overcome their fears, but fears can be very life protecting. It can be karmic protecting. For example, I discovered later on after the prairies was that my grandfather came back from the prairies because his wife had allergies. So my grandmother, actually great grandmother, moved to Ontario because she had terrible allergies in the prairies. And I'm starting to deal with allergies now, and I'm going, this is...
Thank you, Granddad.
Right? Exactly. Right. And to go, okay, this environmental wellness, like where does our physical body feel? Is it in a state of wellness and health? And what environment do we thrive in? As you mentioned earlier, Shannon, at the beginning, where do we thrive? Where do we feel support? And where do we actually die? Like and everyone has a different nature. Every person, everyone has a different meaning of that. Right. So
I would like to go here with the conversation, right? Because as our listeners know, we've been doing a lot of traveling, flexibility, different things this year, last year. And it's been really interesting for me to watch the difference. And Christine, you and I have not dived into this, right? It's been interesting to watch the difference of Christine's family and all of her loved ones, right? And what happens when you love so many people and you have these people and then things start moving and shifting and people are transitioning, right? To me, where I didn't grow up with my family. My dad was adopted and didn't keep in contact with that. So all of that is like a whiteboard not filled in. You know what I mean? So I get saved from the heartbreak of over and over and over the years. And it's also this space of whatever I want to fill up with my life, because aren't these other things, and that's been a beautiful part of it. And she has that added love and everything that comes with those long-term relationships, So I would love to talk more about family constellations and where we are in the holidays and how you help your clients be intentional with it, their environmental wisdom in that aspect. And Christine looks like she wants to add on a part of that.
Yeah, I just want to say I really love, Heather, how you said you noticed, right? That noticing in our bodies, I think, is very important.
Yes.
And then selfishly, I want to add on, because I'm currently in a little struggle with my sister. And so when you're in an environment, and often around the holidays, and, something bubbles up, what is a resource or a tool we can use in that moment to be our best and highest selves? That's a personal, selfish ask for this moment.
I love it.
Apparently,
great. It's great. It's great. I think many probably relate with this, and myself included. I have a challenging dynamic with my sister. I love her to pieces, but we get into these weird things, right? So I can definitely relate with that as well, Christine. I love these questions. Because, and it's such a great point. So Shannon, I'll speak to your point at the piece around the freedom that comes from sort of having, a chunk of the family that you don't have to manage, shall we say, or deal with. There's, there's you don't know what you don't have, right? But there's a beautiful freedom that comes from it. And it's amazing that you've been able to come to that point, right? Mm-hmm. Not always easy. Right. And in family constellations work, it actually, we like to look at who has been excluded, who's invisible, because we'll keep recreating that. So if I were to delve in with a client who said, my father was adopted, and, I grew up with my mother, for example. I don't know your story, Shannon, so I'm just using this as a scenario.
Okay.
And to go further into it, but it's like that part about the fact that the father's included, because we know that father was adopted.
Can I give you more details? Let's switch it, because I was raised by my dad, but it was my mom. Okay. So women connected and wisdom is huge, right? So huge. I'll mute myself. I'm listening to you.
Huge. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So amazing, right? So you actually have, and whatever we always say with constellations, good, bad, and challenging or ugly, we all come from somewhere, right? Like there's no, we're looking at where there's shame, where there's secrets, where there's hidden, so the fact that, and it's rare, like when we talk about, it's rare that kids are raised by their fathers, right? So there's actually a stronger connection there with your father, good, bad, and ugly. I don't know the story, but then we would actually take a look at the relationship with the mother and her side of the family, or however your mother identifies as far as gender identity. So there's, we would actually go, okay, what's that relationship there? And how much do you know about that side of the family? In it, there's also this feeling of, the fact that we don't know the lineage or the history. You probably have to do it through genetics or genetic testing or DNA testing of your father's side of the family, but that there's almost like a mystery or a curiosity that probably still lives there that needs to be fulfilled. And we can only fill in the gaps based on what we know of history. Even doing, I would always say, if there's an element that's missing, how much can the internet give us some information, right? And of what we do know. And you can sort of start putting pieces together. But how this affects, say, for something like the holidays, they always say we recreate what's familiar. And that's not necessarily, that can be a good thing, or that can be a difficult thing, right? So going to Christine's, like sometimes that tension with the sister can be very familiar, right? And we're like, how do we keep recreating this, right? Because they say it's almost a way of bonding. It's a way of staying bonded. So, whether it is having... if you're going to create your own holidays, what were some of the traditions or the beliefs about the holidays growing up? What were some childhood memories that you enjoyed and ones that you wished for, ones that were like, I really want to avoid this? So that it's not going with the cookie cutter of what we see the holidays and continue to exclude ourselves or exclude something else, right? So if it's like, I really missed, and again, I don't know your story, Shannon, I really missed having a mom for the holidays, and I wished I could have had a dinner with my mom or something. Then we go, we can't recreate it, but in a real way to go, you know what, it would be really great to, I do know an older woman who I would love to hang out with and maybe have the holidays with, and maybe we could have dinner together, or a mother type figure or that type of thing. So, we would take a look at how can we include in ways that feed us, don't add more pain, don't add more sorrow, but actually go, wow, I really see this is why, I've heard the stories about my mother and the holidays and how she actually was Jewish and she would rather not celebrate or something, right? Like whatever the story is, you go, okay, I see that. And how can I honor her in some way? Right. Or with the father. And there are a lot of us, I had more of the absent father. Right. And so it was more and I had a stepfather, but I always felt like I was disappointed all the time by him. He'd show up late and all this stuff. So my determination for myself, for my inner child, is to say, I'm not going to allow myself to be disappointed by the people in my life. at Christmas. For mine, it's Christmas traditions for
Mhm.
Christmas. So I am going to make sure that when I create my traditions as an adult, that I let the people in my life know, like, are you committed to this? Can you do this? If you can't, please don't let me down. I'd rather you say no, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Because I don't want my heart to break. Like, this is
Mhm.
special for me, right? And so the more that it builds more of, the trustworthy people rather than always going into, oh, well, who cares? Dismiss it, put it down, right? Sister dynamic, the same thing. Like, there's this pressure that we have to get together with family at Christmas or holidays or these traditions, and we feel like we have to keep doing it and we don't have a choice, right? And that's kind of a weird way of love, is how we would describe it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything is love, including war. Everything in constellations, they call it the hidden symmetry of love. And it seems so crazy, but it's like, we'll do things out of love for our family, even the stuff that is not good for us. We drink with them, we'll smoke tons of weed or cigarettes or whatever. Like, we'll hang out with them, even if it's terrible for us and we don't really want it. But we
Mhm.
will do these things just to belong,
Mhm.
right? So instead of actually going, how do I feel like, and so I've had to do this, and I'll just share again, I don't know Christine's story, but
Right.
I've had to figure out the boundary to go, you know what,
Mhm.
this isn't serving me and this isn't serving this person, right? This boundary here, I love this person. What do I love about this person? Even if we spent 10 minutes and it went really well, that would be a whole lot better than putting us into a stress state, because stress is death, right? Stress is lack of life. Like, there's good stress, but I mean that negative stress, is this serving us? So what's the tipping point? When do we get to, like, try to identify, when do we start getting into this weirdness, right? Where do I feel safe and where do I feel like, so is it at a distance? Is it like, how close can I get before I get hurt? It's like the medicine can be medicine. And then if you have too much of it, it can be poison. So you think about the people you hang out with and go, where would I feel comfortable? Where I feel like it could be still a really good time. I'm honoring my own limits, because it's the understanding that ultimately our ancestors want us to be happy. They don't want us to hurt ourselves. Ultimately, the family of origin at a fundamental level doesn't want us to die before our time. So I bring it always back to life and death, because that's essentially what ancestral work is all about. And how can our ancestors would support us, but they don't want us to fall over the cliff, right? So if we actually go, both my sister and I come from ancestors, the same ancestors. May seem weird, may seem odd, but we're all trying to work something out, right? We're both wanting love. We're both wanting to be seen. We're both wanting to be heard, these fundamental things. This doesn't work. How about if we shift it up a bit so it could work? And then once you do that, and you don't even have to say it out loud, you can almost just do it through your actions. See how things shift. And then what's amazing is you end up actually really realizing what was really under the surface of that tension. It's usually sibling rivalry. It's usually like it could have been something from childhood that didn't get resolved. We call it like what's out of order, right? Who's trying to be the older sibling? Who's trying to be the younger sibling? Where's the respect? Where isn't the respect? So that's just kind of an overview of it. So I don't know if this lands. I would love to hear from both Shannon and Chris how this lands.
I love that, Heather. And it's funny that you say that about what's out of order. So I only have one sibling. I have my baby sister, and she's 16 months younger than I am. And I always joke that she wanted to be the older sister, that she wants to be in charge, and she tends to want to take control and be the older sister. And so you saying that about out of order is fascinating. And she might listen to this and say that's absolutely not true, right? Because we all have our different perspectives too, right? But that really landed when you said what's out of order. And
yeah, exactly. And what's interesting, because that would be something for you, because even if she doesn't see it that way, you see it that way. Right? Like, that's your experience of it, right? So we want to respect how you're seeing it, because there's something there that's saying she always wants to be in charge. So if you were to actually go, how do I be in charge as the leader in this? And at the same time, It's more like there's something she's trying to say, you're not taking charge.
Right.
Right? There's something there. And again, I don't know the details, but there's something there. As soon as the younger person feels like they need to take charge of things, it's because they're feeling like the older people aren't taking charge. And it could be an ego battle, but it could be, hey, I see that you're trying to take charge of the plans for the holidays. Like, can you trust me a little bit? Like, I would love to take that on. Or like, it's this part about saying there's something there that perhaps doesn't trust that you're going to take care of this aspect. Or it could be, hey, I see that you're taking this all on. Why don't I take half of it? Right. And so it's reestablishing this sense of trust in the hierarchy. And I say hierarchy not from an authoritarian place, but from life experience, respect. Every family system, they say why we're so wonky in the world is because everything is out of order. Children are parenting their parents, and parents are, like it's just all whacked, and we don't have respect for those who came before us. And when we can actually go, hey, Christine, if you're younger sister, I'm the youngest sister. So my sister would say exactly what you just said. Right? Exactly. And I'm like, but I'm my own person, and I don't know, right? Like, I have my own voice, But I was always the kid trying to catch up to her. I was 3 years younger, and I always wanted to do what she did, right? So I'm trying to not be like her, but I want to be like, I'm part of this too, So.
Well, and I have a question, Heather, because our long-term listeners know, the last year has been filled with grief and loss for my family. So in the middle of this, I have the skills and the resources and the compassion to say, oh, what's under this, I think in this moment is unresolved grief and loss. And I wonder from a family constellation perspective, when you lose somebody or multiple somebodies, how that shifts the constellation. And also, I know we don't ever go back to the same because that person's not on this plane anymore, but when can folks expect it to at least settle down a little bit, right? From your perspective and your modality.
Beautiful. And I would say Constellations is very much about dealing with that, the grief, the loss, the idea. And I'm hearing loss being more connected to death, or is it other losses like divorce and that kind of?
No, it was, we lost 7 people in our family in the last 2 years. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a lot of, and one of them being my dad. So, the last one being my dad, which is, really close in, but we lost a matriarch on one side. We lost a beloved aunt. It was a hard 2 years. And so our whole family is trying to recalibrate and figure out, how do we do this now? Right.
Yeah. Well, if I can add to that, it means that many of you have to grow up. And when I say that, it means you're now stepping into those shoes, or you're now stepping into, not putting pressure again, but just stepping into those new roles of saying, how do we still honor the people we've lost, yet still how do we keep the family together? And it's like the younger ones are going to look to the people who are older to go, hey, how can you create stability for us? Right. So also the part, sometimes those holidays, that's the time where people are like, wow, the person's not here, da, da, da. How can you include that person in the holiday celebrations or in the gatherings, or when you meet together? It could be their favorite chocolate. It could be a song that they loved, and how to still include them. And it gives the family strength to go, look, we're not forgetting you. You're still special to us. And at the same time, we're taking charge, in quotes, we're taking responsibility is what I want to say. We're going to step into coordinating and being the new matriarch, or being the new one that gathers everyone, so that the younger people can go, oh, we still have a family. We're not going to lose everyone. We still have people who care about us. I just got shivers with that one.
Yeah,
Me
that's
too.
powerful.
It's crazy.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. That makes sense, and You asked how it landed, absolutely, and it's interesting because you said it depends on the other side of the family. What's crazy, Heather, is that the other side of the family is only a percentage better than that. I didn't know any of them. I'm telling you, it was
Wow.
literally me and my
Wow.
dad. It was one person, and then
Wow.
he was sick. Then he got cancer. He was sick. And so thankfully he's here, right? Um, and then
Wow, Shannon.
right? Marriages and stuff. Then I met my mom, graduated high school, and then found out she was schizophrenic and she got
Mhm.
sick and passed away. And so, right, yes, yes. So,
Wow, Shannon. So you've had, and I don't use this term lightly, but almost like walking as an orphan,
right. And
right?
literally have been in foster care before. So I've been the
Mhm.
oldest, the youngest in foster
Mhm.
care, and now I'm the oldest again. So when we talk about hierarchy and moving around, where I would love to go with this conversation, right? As people are checking in
Mhm.
with themselves and like, me too, multiple family members gone, loved ones gone, close people gone through COVID and everything who are listening to this
Yeah.
is going home.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about three groups really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all three steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. The story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade,
Yes.
and it smells great, y'all. So,
Yes, esthetician
yay.
tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, I work with individual coaching clients, I work in community classes, and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. Especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes. Because that's home sweet home. My mom, when I met her, she said, you used to say that when you were little, home sweet home, you come in the door, and that's what I think about. And that's how I think about Women Connected in Wisdom and our mission and our goal of giving these resources to our listeners and to our viewers is all this stuff can happen, right? Be in an environment here. You can be over here in Canada, be in Alexandria, Egypt, be in Spain. We were in Malaysia a few minutes ago, virtually. And how do you come back home to yourself when the world is swaying back and forth?
Completely.
Very important. So how do you walk your clients through that when we're talking about environmental wellness?
Beautiful. Thank you, Shannon. I wanted to say thank you for sharing
Yes.
your experience, because it's the heart of, I think, various people don't feel, they feel homeless in different ways. Right. But that real space of going, like that inner part of your inner child, it's like home sweet home. Everybody knows that feeling when you're in it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be childhood, right? Related. It can, sometimes you can go to a place and you're like, I don't know why I feel so at home here. I feel relaxed. I feel alive. I feel like I have inspiration. I feel like I have all this energy, right? So or it's just feeling familiar. People recognize us, right? Like that's why some people, I would say that they go to the pub every night because there's familiarity of people who see them and know them and would miss them if they didn't come by, right?
Right.
So, how do we go to places where we feel, even with the fact that you've been so long on this podcast, for example, you and Christine having stronger bonds, it makes sense. Like whenever I've worked with people who've had, let's say foster care experiences are highly, highly dysfunctional. I've dysfunctional for sure. But same thing. My mom had mental health issues. I had a father with a gambling addiction and personality disorder and all of this. So home was always upside. I've moved like 50 times in my life.
Right.
So I have a lot of empathy, and that's part of why I do this work. And why I feel like a lot of people who've had home trauma or family trauma, we tend to seek nature. It's unconditional love. It's unconditional support. It's home on Mother Earth. And I would say that is it's the interesting part that I would say people on Turtle Island who are non-Indigenous, especially, and I would say Indigenous as well included, but a different reason or a different spirit behind it, or depends on the trauma. But the people coming who are not Indigenous, who've come here for opportunities, who've come here to, just for work or school or whatever, who don't necessarily feel a connection to the earth or the land.
Right. Yes.
Ironically, they need the land the most, as far as feeling like I've got my feet on the ground, fresh air. Like there's a universal love that comes with nature.
Wow, that makes sense.
Right. And then the people who feel more, and I say homeless emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically, and even with relations. But that feeling of it, then we bond more with other people. It actually extends us out for our humanity. So it makes perfect sense to me, Shannon, the work you're doing. It's like the greatest challenge and the greatest strength, because you have to bond with other people. I used to bond with strangers wherever I went. I can relate with so many different people because I didn't have parents who were watching me 24/7.
All right.
That can put you in dangerous scenarios. That can, all of those things. But I've learned a lot on the journey. Yeah. But the need for long-term bonds or the need for deeper connections is stronger than somebody who grew up in, say, a family where they know that if they fell, people had their back.
Right.
All of that, right? So more than anything, I would say, especially with people who come from ancestors that have migrated, especially on Turtle Island, it's kind of the essence of the States in Canada, is that everybody's from somewhere else unless you're Indigenous. The need for honoring the land, connecting with the land, finding a sanctuary with the land, whatever that means. Land can be in an urban setting. It doesn't have to be out in the middle of nowhere. That could be traumatic for some people. But there's a feeling of the need to connect, right? And that could be through food. That, like, a lot of people will go to food choices from back home, or people will plant gardens with the vegetables from their home country. So it doesn't have to, it can be going to an event, like a music event. It can be cultural, right? So environment can come into so many different places. But I would say that's the importance of going, I need this more than even my family I left. And they'll say sometimes, like, there's sort of jokes, like the Irish Canadian is more Irish than the Irish person in Ireland. Right? like there's just this seeking, right, of that culture.
That makes sense.
So it's like you can't separate. What I'm trying to describe is like there's geopolitical, spiritual, cultural combinations that you can't separate.
Right.
Yeah. Like I find it fascinating, and I don't want to go into the whole big T. I don't know how you guys call him down there, but the one that got in that I'm not too happy about.
Okay.
But
we'll go with that.
The people in New York don't like him. Generally, he does not have a home in New York. And no real empathy for people struggling with home. He wants to deport everyone. He wants to, it's like, can you just resolve your home issues? Like, what is going on here? Like, why can't you, like, he had no respect for his home in New York. And people really did not like him for good reason. He was not treating people with respect. And then at the same time, you can take him back to his roots in Germany. You can take him back to the people who didn't like his family in Germany that I have a feeling were connected to Nazi Germany. I've just heard things. I don't want to create false pretenses, but there's a lot of karma that he keeps playing out because he's not actually going into his own roots and saying, how do I be here? How do I harmonize with the place? How do I find home that isn't hurting other people? How can I find a culture that I'm proud of but isn't rooted in harm?
Right. So can we go deeper into the roots, right? Because I love how you say you help women from there. And it surprises me sometimes, talking about Shaylo Glow and touching your body and taking care of yourself, the gap of, I thought with this company, it was going to be me trying to move people from lotion and cocoa butter to shea butter, right? Instead, it's moving them from I'm not important enough to be taken care of to all these steps that we were talking about with my lip gloss regimen,
Right.
How do you explain getting to the roots for somebody who may have been protecting themselves by being aloof and being disassociated?
Beautiful question. I would say I would start now going into energy healing language. The root chakra, they say you can't really grow as a person or spiritually if your root chakra isn't at least grounded, right? And so there is the root chakra are fundamental things like safety, belonging. Like, are you around people that can just fundamentally support? Are you in a community that can support your fundamental needs, right? You need that, the hierarchy of needs. You need that at a fundamental level. So when we get down to the root, and I love working with somebody and I go, okay, especially anybody who's gone through, I call it the sweet hell experience. The sweet hell is like, it hasn't destroyed you, but you're still in survival mode. So we really want to check in, what is it like? Where are your support systems? Let's look at your family system. Let's look at your, it could have been you had a family system perhaps with an ex, right? And how did that get disrupted? So, what can we do to make you feel safe? What can we do to make you feel in your body? What can we do to make you feel connected to your home space? So even if somebody is like, I'm in a shelter, awful experience, not great. But say if somebody had to leave something and they're in crisis, they're in the shelter. Okay, so let's just go, there you are now. How can you say, I'm here now and anything from here is up? I'm going to send compassion to any of my ancestors who had this type of experience. And at the same time, how can I create in my own little way a sense of place here? It could just be that I'm going to feed the birds outside, or I'm going to go for a walk in the area and breathe the air. It could be I'm going to set up, a little altar on my bedside table. But that right now, this is my sanctuary or my home. And then from there, there's more abundance that can come, not out of gratitude, just out of grounding, right? So then I would take a look at, okay, let's take a look at this experience that was the sweet hell when you're ready to do that work. And to go, okay, how have you recreated this where you are now? And I'm not out of blaming the victim, not out of blaming yourself for any of this. It's what we've inherited, what we've learned from our culture, our society, our family, our ancestors. And it all comes back to what we deserve, what we believe that love is. Some of us believe that love is being in conflict, right? And fighting with the person, or love is being totally distant, right? So where did we learn some of these things that allowed for this situation to take hold? And it's, again, I'd say learn the lesson, right? All of us have lessons to learn, and to go, you know what? As much as I love this person, I had to step back and love myself first. Or as much as I wanted to fit in with the realm of successful CEOs, but I saw this underbelly side that's really unethical. I went to business school and I was like, ugh. I'm around people that I'm like, it's
Yeah. It's important to note.
Not my ethics, right?
Right.
So
yes.
We can go down these roads and where did I betray myself, essentially? Where have I tried to fit into places I don't belong, not out of that I believe in inclusivity, but it's more, where do I feel a sense of relaxation, belonging, and groundedness? And where do I feel like these aren't my people, right? And again, not out of judgment, but just not my people. I'm going to get hurt. And when we can unpack that together and really take a look at, how are you playing this out that's similar to your father? Let's hear about your father's father. So, I have a father who's passed on, but he was really attracted to the criminal side of things, like curious, like he had this fascination in a really, and like wanted to act on it, right? Like he was criminally oriented and criminally minded from a gambling perspective. And he just found these people fascinating. And I was like, where does this come from? Because like I had a grandfather who was, and I would attract people. I'd always say I'd attract somebody. I bet you they have a criminal record. And I don't say that even out of judgment. Criminal records come from all different reasons. But I'm like, it was just a thing. I was like, I'm always attracting men with criminal records.
Important to note.
Like, why? And it was completely, it's my dad and how he's justified it. And then I'm like, okay, well, everybody has different, even there I can say everyone has different stories and different journeys. Right. But I'm like, I don't want to be with somebody with my dad who brings in these elements into my life. Right. And I can have compassion. I can understand prison justice. Like I've done a ton of advocating around it, but it was completely because of my father's walk, right? Subconsciously.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then I had to go, not my karma, not my path, not my interest. I don't have to fix this. Right. And I can still accept and love and put boundaries.
And so that's what I wanted to talk about too. When you talk about boundaries and finding where that is, I love that. Right. It reminds me of like my work that I've been doing with time management. Before I say, hey, this is this and this is that, just see what you do naturally. Yeah. What do you do naturally, and then tap into that. So I would love to talk about the spiral that Christine was talking about earlier with grief, right? We have our families. It's the holidays. We're trying to be who, pull the weight that we normally pull in the new position that we're in. Yeah. And working on finding those boundaries. How do you help those situations when we're talking about environmental wellness and how we balance our family constellation?
Beautiful. Everything similar. I think even Christine was saying this as well, but this idea of check in with your body. And oftentimes like overwhelm is a sign of trauma or it's a sign of stress. And the holidays are beautiful for being overwhelmed, right? But especially if your family system, hearing Christine's journey, you've gone through a challenging year, of a lot of people have less resources, right? So it's kind of like, how can we be kind and gentle on ourselves, still have, gatherings, but make it a potluck, or let's meet at a restaurant, or let's what is the limit so that we're not draining ourselves more? Right. And I like that piece, where, sometimes boundaries, people think, I have to put this firm and hard boundary. We just have to come back and check in with ourselves and go, how does this feel for me? Does this feel, I'm not opposed to stress. I'm not opposed to hard work. Right. But it's a piece around, is this feeling like, oh my God, now I'm flooded and I'm overwhelmed and I have to think of 10 different people and I'm blah, 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 blah. And you already can notice as soon as you think of the idea of it, you go, oh my gosh, I'm already spiraling, or oh my gosh, I'm already feeling like I can't think straight. Then we have to go, okay, we're in the death state. We're in a state where, okay, we need to set a distance here about what the plan is. We want the ideal over here, but what can I manage, right? What is workable? And then, because what ends up beautifully happening is that when it's like, when you see the exhausted parent, the kid doesn't want the parent to be exhausted. The kid doesn't want the parent to be, working their butt off for that toy. Like, sure, the kid says, yeah, of course I want the toy. But then if it means that I don't have time with my parent.
I want the time.
I want the time, right? I want the quality time, right? So you want to think about, that's where the boundary comes in. The relationship is better, even if it's 15 minutes, then it's nothing at all, right? It's the quality you want of the connection. And can we connect in real ways where one person isn't doing all the work and the other person is, it's not good for anybody. It's out of balance, right? So even calling relationship hygiene, shall we say, what is fair? What is balanced? The stage of life, if you're in midlife, you have more, you're like the sandwich generation, right? But you have people who depend on you below you and people who depend on you above you. You have to manage to go, what is manageable for me, right? What can I do and what can't I do? And then I'm going to make requests to people. I'm going to ask for help from this person. I'm going to ask for help from, and people want to help. Like if you actually, what's so beautiful is people, if we're not focusing all of our energy on one person or 5 people who have to do all the work, if you actually ask for help, people are like, yeah, of course, let's make fun out of this. Let's do this in a really enjoyable way for everyone, right? So that some of those spirals can come off. And you all of a sudden you'll be like, wow, I had the best holiday season ever. Everyone has the best memories because we chatted and we didn't worry about the Christmas tree or the whatever, like it was,
Yeah.
and you actually get to know people rather than just being busy for busy.
No. And I don't like just a busy schedule. I like to be productive, not busy just because I like to. It's like little Shannon, and we can go to wisdom in action. Y'all, I love book bags and stationery. So little Shannon, okay, one day she took all of her books. If I show you all these books, she took all of the books from the top of the closet and put them in her book bag. And I walked out the door, and then my book bag came out the door. My dad said, "What is in your bag?" And puzzles and books and like all this stuff,
Gosh.
And so I love how you said it, people want to help, let them help. And you don't have to always do it that way just because that's what you're used to doing, or that's necessarily how you like it. You don't have to pack it that heavy is what I've learned over the years. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so absolutely. No, and I was just going to say one of the big lessons that I've had to learn in life is, and I've had to work with clients, is just saying, what if you're doing a person a favor by asking them for help? Mm-hmm. And I remember going back, and again, I haven't studied Buddhist teachings, but one that stuck out for me was some story about how the reason why you'd see these examples of people like the Buddhist monk who was going around and asking for spare change. Right. Or would even go against their thing of saying, I break my vegetarian code if somebody invites me in for dinner and there's meat there, I'll eat the meat. And the question was, why do you do that? And he said, because it's more suffering if I deny an act of human kindness. Humans are meant to grow and becoming kinder. I'm helping them evolve spiritually by receiving the level of love and kindness that came from that gift. To reject it would be to, stop the flow of human kindness. That's more suffering than me eating the meat. And also the part where he's like, I don't need them. Like it would be going with alms, but it wasn't about necessarily denying for their spiritual growth. It was about encouraging people to give.
That makes sense.
Right. So I love like this idea, and it's not about being like, an exploiter, a moocher, or whatever. Like carry your weight, right. but it's like it's that piece around, like oftentimes we live in such an individualistic world, and that's not how the environment works. We're interconnected, and our relationships are interconnected, and we need to keep saying, hey, I'm feeling tired here, can you help me out? Or hey, do you mind grabbing that flour and bringing it to the kitchen? Right. Like it's a beautiful act of kindness to ask for help and to give help.
Right. Ask for plates and cups if you have the food covered. Like ask for something else. And even if the boundary is the food, you say, no, I'm going to stay disciplined this season because of whatever your reason is, right? But then you say yes to that person that you don't know if that person will still be dating, but there's the harder conversation that might hurt more to uninvite somebody instead of just to see if they can come. Right. Yes. So I hear what you're saying. Yes. So Heather, this has been amazing. When you think about, I'm so glad you enjoyed it, your personal environmental wellness and what you're doing for your wisdom in action this week, what are you focusing on?
So one of the things that I found out that I had higher cholesterol, which is not something I'm happy about. So every day is dancing or getting outside to go for a walk for 30 minutes. So when you did the intro dance thing, I was like, yahoo, I'm with you. And doing sun salutations, 5 sun salutations in the morning. So
love the sun salutations.
It's so beautiful. And I love, it's just putting me back into my body. And that part again, paying attention to what I'm eating this holiday season. And, it's going to be lower fat, or the wrong kinds of fat. The good fat will come into my body and the bad fat won't. But I see it as like, wow, I'm having that new relationship with my body again. And it's more, I know I do have heart issues in the family, and I'm like, they wouldn't want me to die of a heart attack. My family system. So,
right.
No.
Yeah.
Being intentional. Love it.
Powerful. What are you thinking, Shannon?
Yeah.
for your wisdom and action.
Let's see. I wrote something down earlier. We were talking about, let's see, as my stomach talks to us, clearly it's time to eat. Let's see. Can you hear it? It's crazy.
No, we can't.
That'd be crazy. Okay, let's see. Okay, give me a second. Let me be intentional because Heather, I really try to do a hashtag that's an action, right? Something I'm actually going to do. And I don't like to just say something because we're on the podcast. So things that stood out to me, relationship hygiene, love that, right? Environmental stewards. We are definitely stewards of our environment. And I like how you said it's not a stress date. We're not doing that, right? Let's see. How about this, Christine? How about you go first and I will see if I can meet you with what I'm doing for my environmental wellness. What are you thinking about?
Well, I am thinking hashtag breathe. I was in our radical self and community care class this week. We were playing with breathing, and I think about, the stress of sometimes families and when folks are still grieving, and just a simple act of breathing and catching my breath and really being intentional that I'm grounded and centered, I think is important. So I think mine is going to be hashtag breathe. Maybe breathe deeply.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah. And especially when around family.
Right.
And people who might be more challenging that you feel ungrounded with. Yeah.
I will say, okay, so yours is breathe deeply. And Heather, I want to be clear. Breathe deeply. What is your hashtag?
So, what I'm realizing is mine wasn't as much of an environmental one as it was more of a physical health one, which is similar. But let me just let me think about that as you're sharing yours.
Got you. So I was thinking about, you said breathe deeply. Oh, I had it. Honoring the environment. And this is a couple of different things, right? This is me being really grateful for where we are right now. We are top 5% of the world, ending the year strong as the podcast, right? That's a new update, Heather. We went from 10% to 5%, right? Yes. Yes. Thank you. So I'm still relishing in that celebration, right? Holding on to that. Thank you. Honoring the environment and where I am in different projects, just grateful for the opportunity to do the different things and to have the challenges and the questions that we have at the stage of entrepreneurship, right? Is something I'm really grateful for. And then getting outside. We talked about deep breath. We talked about the need for connection to the environment. And with it being colder, it's really easy for me to not run 4 times a day, but I did go get my fresh air today, try to make sure that I still do my time outside. And so for my environmental wellness, that'll be my hashtag.
I love that. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that inspired both of your topics inspired me too. One of the things I want to do this holiday season is to actually walk in the neighborhoods to see the lights. And it helps me. There's something I love. I'm so great. I know a lot of people think it's cheesy and all this stuff, but
I love it too.
And it's a waste of lights or energy. But what I love is the creativity. I love that neighbors are willing to do this, right?
Yeah,
and I want to go and absorb it and appreciate the neighborhoods that are around me and see the different ones. So whenever it's a nice night, tonight's a blistery, really awful night. But some of the nights were just to go out for a walk when the lights are on, just after dinner, and to check out different neighborhoods. Drive them if I have to, but just to go to different neighborhoods. And I grew up in Guelph, so to my chance to be able to see what they're doing this year and all of this, I want to do at least 3 or 4 neighborhoods.
I'm so glad.
I love that idea.
I want to see the lights too. Yes.
Yeah. So the hashtag would probably be community spirit.
Okay.
I love that, Heather. Before we go, because I know we're getting close to time, tell our listeners how to find you, how to reach out to you. We will, of course, put it in show notes, but give us a verbal if they want to connect with you and learn more about your soul coaching. How do they find you?
So I have a website. It's csoul.ca. So letter C and then SOUL.ca. Also on Facebook, I have a Facebook group called She Blooms Soul Sanctuary. And that one is really if you need a break from the world, restore your heart. It's been a challenging year, especially, well, I'd say in the States, but also as Canadians watching.
Wow. Mirror girl, you got it. Good.
To just step away and restore and take care and feel like you're not alone. And yeah, I think those are probably the two major spots. You can check me out on LinkedIn with Heather B. Warren, if that's your place. And also YouTube. I have a YouTube channel called Cecil. It's Cecil Coach.
Beautiful.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's been amazing getting to know both of you and for what the work you're doing. It's just right up my alley. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Yes, we told you a lot. So this episode is definitely packed, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. Right? We will stay connected, and we will talk to you soon.
Excellent. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So good.
I was
So
going to say
good.
the same thing. I know. And we knew it was going to be good. I feel like that. I'm like, I can't wait for everybody to hear this guest, and we could keep talking, and we will. There'll be more conversation and more resources shared, especially talking about environmental wellness.
Right. And a powerful tool for this time of year, right?
Yes.
Learning more about family constellations and Heather's expertise. I really enjoyed that and look forward to learning more.
Me too. Yeah. Anything else that you have for our listeners? I know you said you're in Colorado for Interplay. Any other events that they can attend?
Right. Well, Interplay Atlanta, we always have Second Saturday, which is coming up. I won't be there this Saturday, but our community and our group will be, which would be awesome. And you can find out about that at interplayatlanta.org or interplay.org, and have a lot of really fun events coming up next year. And I know you do too. We're going to, y'all stay tuned. Yeah. We're going to be out and about in community. We're going to be looking for connections and we're going to be talking about some fun stuff like book number 3 being launched in January. So
more soon. Yes. And we will be live here next week at 5. In the meantime. Yes, actually.
I just wanted to say I get excited about every guest, but I'm really excited about next week's guest, about journaling and, is it Shanti? Am I saying her name right?
I need to look at it, yes. But
y'all, it's gonna be good. I mean, we're saying that about every episode. It's really come back, be with us, make a cup of tea, make a cup of cocoa, have a cup of coffee with us, and let's just stay connected.
Yeah, keep talking, having conversations. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, don't forget,
be well,
be wise,
and be whole.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.